What's going on, guys? It's James, aka the Boise Jon Snow, back with another movie review. This time we're talking about A Quiet Place. Let's dive into it. So A Quiet Place is a new horror thriller by John Krasinski, actually, who was famous for his role in The Office, a handful of other small movie roles, but mainly he's known as Jim from The Office. And I saw the trailer for this movie a couple months back, and I really loved the concept of the movie without sound, and really looked like it was super tense. And I was also very interested in what John Krasinski had to offer as a director. And I know Emily Blunt's just a super powerhouse, and we had two unknowns in Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmons. And overall, the marketing campaign was actually very good for this movie. They were everywhere. They're on Twitter, on Instagram, really hitting the perfect marketing notes, like a really scary movie. They had a perfect, curiosity director, a solid cast. The character in the movie that Millicent played, she was deaf, and in actual real life, she's deaf as well, and that's a huge thing for the deaf community, things like that. They need representation just as much. People's color, people with disabilities deserve that representation just as much. And then I saw the movie, and it's very safe to say that John Krasinski is one of my directors to watch now. I really, really enjoyed when he did this movie. At the top, John Krasinski gives a killer performance. You see there's so much, everyone in this movie, John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe, everyone conveys so much with just their eyes and just their demeanor. Everyone freaking killed it. There was so much they said. There was an incident early in the movie that pretty much is one of the heavier baggage things they carry throughout the movie, and there's just so much and so tense the entire time. And the biggest thing that this movie does for it, that it does flawlessly, is that the movie is almost completely silent, because if you talk or make noises, anything like that, the monsters will hear you and the monsters will come kill you. Simple as that. And because of that, it required the audience in the theater to be quiet. Since there's no sound on the screen, because if there was sound, they would die, no sound on screen meant extra no sound in the theater. Because sometimes there's that rustling around, all that crap, there's popcorn, there's someone sneezing, coughing, someone texting. The entire theater was silent. And when it did that, only a handful of times in my life has this happened to me with a movie, and when it does, it ends up being one of my favorite movies of the year, if not ever, is when the movie is quiet, when the audience is quiet. You are now transported into that world. You are placed into it. The movie grabs you and is now an experience like no other. And it made every snap, it made every breath, it made every sneeze that much more powerful. At one point in the movie, I kind of just fidgeted around to myself. I was gnawing on my own finger, and I knew if I kept doing that, I would bite my finger off. This movie just had that tension all the way ramped up to 11. It was honestly, it was tense from beginning to end. From second one to second 10,001. It was tense as all hell. If you do not like scary movies, this is not for you. It's tense. There's great foreshadowing. There's great payoff. There's little bits here and there. Lots of character growth. Lots of development. They did such a good job, and I'm very excited to see what John Krasinski does next. And let's give a shout out to the ladies in the movie. Initially, I thought this was going to be, because Emily Blunt at one point was literally barefoot and pregnant. As stereotypical as it gets. As the story progressed, the women do have their shot to really shine as strong characters. And they were never strong throughout, but I thought it was going to be weighed down by the literal barefoot and pregnant archetype. I don't know which one that is, but I thought that was going to happen. And luckily it didn't. It really carried its own. Emily Blunt was a strong character. Millicent played a very strong character as well. Everyone had their arc. Everyone had something to prove. And at the end of the day, this movie was about family and what you're willing to do to protect that family. And very powerful. I want to visit this world more. I want to know so much more. They built such a great and cool world, but I don't think we're going to get to revisit it, and I think it's smart that we don't revisit it. Because now I just want to talk about this movie to every single person I see, because they did such a great job building this world, building such a perfect contained story, and executing it almost flawlessly. And then a quick audience response, talked to a couple friends. This movie made a ton of money too. I think $50 million over the weekend on a $17 million budget. Absolutely killed the box office. Super small budget movie. Very excited to see what happens next. But the audience overall loved it. Everyone I've saw it with, they loved it. I was anxious for an hour and a half afterwards. I was talking to my buddy about it multiple times. We had a 3-hour conversation, and we just kept looping back around to Quiet Place. This movie's really having a huge impact because I think it was really good, and there's some really smart and innovative things done within the genre. And it wasn't really meant to be a horror film, it was just meant to be elevating other senses you already had. And I think it asked something different of the audience that not a lot of movies ask of, and I think that's why it's so well received and everyone's so curious to go see it. If I'm going to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it a kick-ass must-see. I might go see it again. That good. The theater experience is like no other. It is silent, and I think a theater experience really heightens this movie. You can watch it in your house, you can do things like that, but nothing beats a room of 100 people, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're all wrestling, they're all loud, but this time they're all silent. Nothing beats that. It is a very different experience. I think a theater experience is more than warranted with this movie. And also, this is probably my favorite movie of the year so far. I really like a lot of decisions they make, and you know, I like supporting original movies as well. So now we have an announcement. So I've been doing these movie reviews for a couple months now, and sadly that has to come to an end. I love everything I've done with This Is Boise so far, but I have some other opportunities in the horizon. I will still make YouTube videos. I still want to be a director. I will still see movies, but I will no longer be making YouTube videos of movie reviews on this channel anymore. So if you're interested in anything that I have to do, if you're invested in me in any way, here's my social media right there, my Instagram. That's probably my most active social media platform. I will make videos, I will post them on there, I will let the world know. There are some really big things I'm working on right now that I can't justify making these videos on a very consistent basis without compromising other things I'm working on and other ambitions of mine. That being said, I love you. I really thank every single one who's liked, commented, anything on any of my videos. It means the world to me. And that was honestly the hardest thing. That was the thing that almost made me want to keep going, because I got a lot of positive comments recently, but I can't keep going. I have other things that need me. I have other things I want to do. I have other things that can really change my life. So, unknowns and I will actually look it up. Millicent Simmons and Noah Jupe.